We are ticking away, I guess. So I'm going to share this to some other locations.
Here's my notification.
Okay. Good evening, early evening, where I am. We are. Kathy's sitting next to me.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, I want to take a gamble on whether it can share it to X this time.
Well, it's 50-50,
Yeah.
so.
Kind of slow. I don't know if that's because people are hacking it or something.
I think because it's a Saturday in the park, too.
Um, so a lot of
And a
people
lot of
are on their
people,
phones
yeah,
that normally might not be.
we got a
Yeah.
lot of people around us.
Well, let me post, so I
Maybe.
guess that's a good thing. And let's see if Facebook can handle a post. Okay, that looks good. Well, just before I say anything to the folks in the chat, I'm gonna pop it out. And I see Jari Aguilam and Jano. Like that's. I hope I said that okay. Um, greetings. And Cyrus says, yes, we mailed out the book. When was it,
Yesterday.
yesterday? Yesterday we mailed it out in the
Yeah,
afternoon.
north.
Yeah, on our way north. So I've got the tracking number. If you don't get it, they said it might take like a week because we send it.
It's silly, it'll be there.
Yeah, usually it takes the same time as any other package.
Could be.
'Cause I send it the book rate.
They always try to make you, nervous and want to pay more,
Mhm.
but you know, it's a book. Does it need to get there? Anyway,
The Welsh American is here. Hi, Sawyer and Kathy.
that's Richard.
Yeah, good to see you. Joseph Coates, hello. Yeah, I picked up this well, the other day. I don't know what it was. I forgot how I came. Oh, I was watching this um, YouTuber. Um, I forgot his name off the top of my head, but he was playing a video by what's his name again? Buddha,
Mouthy Buddha.
Mousy Buddha,
Mouthy.
Mouthy, right? Mouthy Buddha, Buddha, and apparently he's got a bunch of tapes that um, might be worth looking at. I don't know. I'm not. I don't. Know much about him except that he did a documentary on the Phoenix Lights. And so I watched this person's broadcast of it, and then I ended up going with Kathy, and I listened to it today uh, off the Mouthy Buddha YouTube channel. And and there's a lot of things in it that I didn't remember seeing before. And I guess, so the question, because previous to today, uh, I was thinking that um, Phoenix Lights was in my mind, because we don't have any evidence of what Doe said about it or any of the classmates. That's a whole nother evaluate, story that, in that. But you know what? I didn't put this in the right place. But anyway, so what I thought about it was that it was like a facsimile event that was created by the space alien souls, the space race, or the space races, or one or more of the races working together if they do. Um, and so, and the reason I was thinking that was because it happened, well, because Tian had said that um, that's what the space alien races do. That's with their spacecrafts, whatever they have, and they can have a lot. Those talking about there could be thousands of spacecrafts coming in shifts potentially to the Earth or close to the Earth. I mean, they're around the Earth already, or inside the Earth, or under the seas, um, and that's even biblical talking about that. And so they've got their crafts, and I don't know if any of them are the size that was talked about in the Phoenix Lights, but I guess it's possible. But um, so since we know that Doe and T thought that, and they felt and it was slow to come to this. I don't think actually they talked about it much before T left, except for the fact that we had the Roswell book in our library, the pink one. It had a pink cover on it, I think. With more,
It's
I think.
red.
Oh, it's red. It's reddish. Okay.
Well, I'm, because I got it,
Oh, yeah, you have it. Okay.
and
From
it's
that's by Moore.
I don't know,
Yeah. Anyway. Anyway, so we had that book.
but I remember you saw it and you said, oh,
While T was still in her vehicle. So they never really said during that time that I ever remembered that they were certain that those crashes, or some of those crashes, were um, the delivery mechanism for members of the next level that were giving up their vehicles and that they had in the next level on their labs, in their labs, or whatever spacecrafts they were on before, um, uh, those souls with whatever vehicles they had. Anyway, and there's a lot to this that I'm not going through right now because I'll never get to the few points that I want to make in this broadcast. Um, but uh, so what they said about that was that they felt like some of the crashes were like a facsimile of the space aliens. That they were putting a facsimile together of what the next level does. Now, I don't know if they knew the next level was going to do that ahead of time. That's the way they always come and go, it kind of said that, like Jesus said that this is the way he comes and goes with his physical body inside into a spacecraft. Now, that didn't mean that somebody couldn't leave without that physical body. It's up to the next level to decide that, and the individuals that are wanting to go on with the lesson plan that they have and be of greater service to the next level on their spacecrafts, who arrived at all that on their own, and some getting way off the track. But
Where are you running to? Where are you running?
yeah, I'm getting all tangled up in
I was just when you said
all the things that there are to think about in terms of these ideas and stuff. And but the idea of the facsimile is throughout Tiando's teachings. I say teachings, but all their tapes talk about, not all the tapes, but a number of the tapes talk about how that humans are a cop. We're not really real in that context, in the context of what really is real. And you're only real when you're a member of the next level because you're not temporary anymore. That's one way of looking at it. They didn't talk about it that way, though, that I remember at the time. But anyways, I can't go through all that again. But right now, oh, looks like somebody's slowed me down on the internet. Let me see if we're
I see it here.
still going. It might just be the video part.
Yeah, that's the book Osiris, the Roswell Incident book by Bill Moore and Charles Berlitz.
Right, right. That's it. So,
Oh, and Osiris got an email through USPS, and the book should be there Thursday.
oh,
That's great.
good.
Okay, sorry,
That's great.
I read that really
Yeah,
fast.
by the way, there's a whole book list in the Heaven's Gate book. It's part of the 88 update.
Yeah.
So search on 88 update on the Heaven's Gate website, and if you want to see the book list that the class was talking about and had some of it, some of the books they had, because they had a lot more books that are in that not in that list. I learned later. Anyway, but um,
Crash
so
at
the
Aztec.
facsimile, yeah, right, Crash at Aztec.
Sorry, but the facsimile.
You're right. I don't think Crash at Aztec was a facsimile,
No.
or Roswell. What we're calling Roswell. Yeah, yeah. Uh, because of the way that Doe gave us those book, the Crash at Aztec, he gave us that book to read the appendix of parts of the appendix. We could read anything we wanted in the book, but the only assignment to read it was a big thick book. I mean, it was like almost the size of my book, maybe even bigger. Anyway, but so the one we had anyway, and so that's where I first realized that maybe the whole space alien thing was real. I didn't think it wasn't before that, but I didn't really have the recognition that it might actually be real. It's just, I don't know, it sounds stupid, right? I don't know. If it is stupid, that's the way it is. But um, it just certainly shows that I didn't join to be part of a UFO group. And some did. Some did that had, and understandably, you know, completely. But it wasn't about the bus. It wasn't about the transportation in the next level. It was about becoming a member of the next level and to be, a part of the whole crew, a working part. I mean, a really good part. A cog in the wheel. You need every cog in the wheel for the wheel to really function well. So, that's the whole idea of it. And that's the whole reason the planet was created, and because it's their joy to give new beings life and the ability to become a member of the next level. Anyway, so I'm going to move on from that. But I know these are my opinions, but it's what I believe, so I guess I get to say it that way. But
Wait, I shouldn't have said that.
I'm going to take it back.
But I was in the.
See, there's
I'm
this.
in the lawsuit for saying that. I don't know why that just came out.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, I remember they quoted me as saying.
yeah. What was that again? What was say those words again that they thought you said?
I did say it.
Nanny poo poo or something?
Nanny poo poo.
Oh, can you nanny poo poo?
Nanny poo poo.
Yeah, they
Like when
actually.
you're on this, you're teasing somebody and you're like, you can't have it. Nanny poo.
Oh, right. So that got quoted in
That's my finest hour.
in the lawsuit against Kathy and me and Carloti by Mark and Sarah. That Kathy had said that about something.
Something.
That she was making fun of that or them or something. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Sharing that we were going to share the information no matter what. So nanny poo.
Oh, right. Okay.
I don't think I said it in that kind of context. They took a lot of stuff that we said and made it sound.
Yeah, that's what lawyers do.
But
They,
anyway,
they,
we're
they
not
look for.
talking.
Right. So
Moving
let's move on. But okay, so the facsimile of the first facsimile that they talked about was while T was still in her vehicle, and it was about Our Lady of Fatima, the what became known as the Catholic miracles that happened, where some children uh, felt that they were spoken to by the Virgin Mary, and they saw images in the sky and things, and Tyndall felt like that was like a hologram kind of thing, or not a hologram. They didn't say it that way, but it was a facsimile. It was artificially generated. Um, so to trick people, to get people on board with fantasy. And that's been being done to the human population from the beginning of the civilization. And yet the next level has provided uh, the opportunities, meanwhile, throughout the civilization, of seeing what the fantasy was more and more, because it's not an easy picture to get. Because it's anyway. So we're looking at the Phoenix Lights documentary by Mouthy Buddha today.
Well, to be fair, and I don't mean to keep interrupting. He took from a documentary that was made by other people.
Yeah.
So he didn't make any of that footage that he used in the documentary that he.
Mm. Right.
Basically, he
Okay.
took footage from somebody else's documentary that they worked their asses off on, going to other people. I'm not, I'm just saying, like,
We don't know anything about how
I
that
do
went.
know about the Phoenix documentary, the Phoenix Lights documentary. That's exactly the
Oh.
name of it, the
Oh. Okay.
Phoenix Lights documentary, and it's like a
The
2 hour long
who did that?
movie.
Who did that one?
It was something that was done in 1990s, in the 1990s, like after it happened, or maybe the early 2000s, and it was several people that worked on that project. They went around and interviewed hundreds of people that witnessed those.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of people reported seeing
Right.
those
So
lights. So
I'm just
these people
recently.
did a
Okay.
lot. That's all the only reason why. Like
Yeah.
that guy Mouthy Buddha did a great job of taking clips from that 2 hour long
Yeah.
documentary and
Yeah.
compiling it into a very nice
Yeah.
20-minute soundbite. Not
That's
I don't
true.
even mean to say soundbite because he did a lot of work doing all that editing and whatnot. But
Yeah.
they went to
So I'm
people's
just giving him
houses
credit
and
for that. That's
yeah.
all I'm doing.
So I just
But that's
wanted to
good. Yeah.
mention that.
Thank you. So I'll go. Um, so the question, I guess the question is whether, one thing I just wanted to say in favor of that, well,
His
sorry.
piece that he put together.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with him right now. I'm not trying to, I'm sorry I'm stumbling around so much. But let me start over with this. Because I initially thought it was a facsimile that was trying to distract the public from what the class was about to do by exiting while they were in the San Diego area. And I could go through a whole bunch of ideas and thoughts about that, that that goes into how the space aliens think, the way I understand it, and how the next level thinks. And to come up with criteria for why I think that might have been the case. So, and but one little aspect of why the other day when I listened to this little documentary, um, I just got a feeling that maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe it wasn't a facsimile. And I thought, well, I have to be willing to, see that. I want to see that if that's the case. And I started getting, I was always having chills while I was watching um, the new documentary because I was feeling like it wasn't just chills, it was just like these, like little tears rolling up in my eyes because I felt like the next level was behind it. Now, they could be behind it also and that be space aliens, but that's another way of looking at it all. Because the next level doesn't, they use everything in the kingdom. So, but um, one of the one of the signs that it might have been next level to me is that, like, one of the things that Kathy and I noticed about this little documentary was that none of the people said that they were afraid. They weren't in fear for their lives. And one person even thought that the other person, the wife or something, might have been. And I thought she said in the documentary that, no, I'm just like fascinated by all this. I'm not
Yeah,
afraid
as
of
if
it.
somebody had asked that question, were you scared or something,
Hmm.
even though they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
So she was like, no, I'm just, or an amazement or something.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
she wasn't scared at
And that's one aspect. Another aspect that, I mean, the space aliens, they're not like, they're not going to come, they don't have horns and stuff. I don't think they're growing vehicles that have horns and saber-toothed,
all. Like,
teeth, Well, well, the way that Doe talked about them is that they had masks or suits that they would wear to cover up what their vehicles had become, or if it's a vehicle that's really worn out, which they could have had many vehicles that wore out already.
just kidding.
Yeah, maybe they did have some that had horns on them because they couldn't get them to grow a certain way, or right, like the Atlantis story, right, where they were trying to they were using pigs. They were crossbreeding with pigs, and so they had pig noses on some of the humans. I remember seeing that as a kid, and I was like, whoa, that's something else. Atlantis, yeah. But that's potentially based on some form of truth, probably. Why not? I mean, we can see humans are doing they're experimenting with everything under the sun. Believe me, I don't have to hear anything. Yeah, we don't even want to know it. No, definitely don't. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. The way they're treating life on the planet and to their advantage, and how many humans are doing that for them as their slaves. And the humans don't think they're slaves. They think they're doing it because
They like it. They want it. They're making money. They're got power. Yeah.
they have the missions that they have, and the service to the public, and ultimately, they have their philosophies and everything like anybody else, and they know things that other people don't know, and and they have influence in some ways, and they don't have influence in some ways, and they can get messed up, and they can make lots of mistakes, and then they cover them up. Yeah, they don't know what the F they're doing. Yeah, that's right. Space aliens are in the same boat. They do stupid things, but and so the people that are watching all this happen, all of us that are paying attention, we know it's a mess. But we can easily get drawn to um, petty battles. And I'm not trying to say what the petty things are, because they can be very grave things, But I mean, we can't do anything about all those things that are being done that are horrible, except talk about it. Maybe that can be a good thing to do. Raise awareness of other perspectives, and not just thinking perspectives, but you know, Kathy and I were thinking about what if we didn't have any food? Would we be fighting with our neighbors? Yeah, the Gaza video, is showing all those hundreds of people, trying to run to those drop boxes and to tear them apart, and people fighting them off, and I don't know who was fighting who in those circumstances.
That's what I was saying. Like, would we be on top of the pile with a baton?
No, I don't think
Get
so.
people's hands
I
wet,
think I just want to leave if it comes to that. Let's just leave. I mean, I just want to leave.
Brother's got the right idea when they're growing, some herbs that they bring along with them.
Yeah, right. Right. Who knows how little you can actually live on for a while. You
Well,
know,
we can drink water as long as we have water. As long
true.
as there's a source of
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I just if it gets to that, it's. But we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. The next level, they have this under control, and that doesn't mean that they're controllers. They're not the control. They're the controllers, but they want it to be. It's free will, and so they're not going to necessarily stop something unless it's going to interfere with our free will that they still want us to have. And I think for as long as people are thirsty for the truth, um, in one shape or another, even if they never hear about Tiendo, and they're separating from the human kingdom mind in their own ways, which there's all kinds of evidence of, then I believe that the next level is going to save those and then start it over again, a new civilization, and there'll be records of this civilization potentially. We don't know. We can't second guess exactly what the next level is going to do and how they're going to do it and when they're going to do it. And Doe knew that. He knew that he couldn't second guess T. and after T left, he but he did. I take that back. It's not second guessing to know what T wouldn't do. That's a certainty, I think. Uh, but you know, and I can give you examples of that, but I don't want to make it about that right now. But but like when he said that you might see thousands of spacecrafts coming in shifts, and coming from the space aliens and coming from the next level. He didn't say how many of each, and when and how and in what way. And I wondered today whether the Phoenix Lights was evidence of that. And that might have been the spacecraft coming in from the space aliens. Now, how do we don't know for sure. Right, the people weren't scared, but what I wanted to get to with that was that the space alien individuals are not necessarily scary. But the reason why they're not scary, I think, is because they use humans to be their diplomats. And so we have contactees, we have, and I'm not saying these people are bad by being contactees. It's not a judgment like that. It's just, it's just the way the garden grows that um, there becomes a difference between what the gardeners are going to save for a future opportunity and what they're going to put their effort into. And if somebody is not asking for them to be in their lives, then to the degree that they're not asking for it will be the restriction that they have to further growth. And and there's no one-time asking. It's difficult. It's the most difficult thing a human can do. I didn't believe that when I first was in the classroom, and Tiendo would say that it was the most difficult thing that a human could do. I didn't understand it. It's not that I didn't believe it. I believed it because they were saying it, and I recognized them. Okay, so it wasn't like I was saying, no, I don't believe that's true, T, in my mind. I didn't have that at all, but I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't have experience with it. Now I do have more experience with it. And anyway, so everything that uh, okay, so the other evidence of that I thought of being from the next level of Phoenix Light experiences. Um, well, there's several more, but uh, was one of the most one is the different configurations that they were doing with the lights. And sometimes there was three, sometimes they were bright orange. Depending on the cameras, and I don't know if they were touched up and stuff. So I'm not saying, but there's one like a cityscape of a Phoenix, and it shows like three big orange dots. Like in a triangle shape.
I think that's a simulation.
That was a simulation.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There's just a grainy um, of just the cityscape with there's not like all these different angles and stuff. It was like there weren't like cell phones.
Right.
People were using like a video,
Right.
even though it was 1997.
Right.
There weren't like cell phones, there wasn't.
Right.
So
I mean, there's a strip of like seven.
exactly.
Okay. Like in
that
a
is
in
the
a,
true. Yeah.
But you notice it's not even a genuine arc. It's got a little bit of a straightness, and then on one leg of it, and then it goes off in an arc. In the design of it. And when I see things like that, I think Okay, they're trying to make very individualistic displays to us. And sometimes it was a triangle, sometimes it was a big broad triangle, sometimes it was
Didn't we watch somebody that had?
one and then six over here,
Well, I
and
think
no,
that was
eight over
just
here.
based on people's individual uh,
Angles.
sightings,
Yeah,
their sightings.
right.
What
Some of them were
some
before the Phoenix Lights.
some people saw 7 lights, some people saw 9, some
Right.
people only saw 3.
Some people saw five.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, in different configurations.
Right.
So it's not that there were maybe at different times different lights were on. So people were seeing
Yeah. See,
different lights.
right.
But
It probably
remember,
depended
didn't
on
we
where it
watch a
was when it
didn't
was coming down
yeah, didn't
from Nevada.
we watch a video together that showed like the I wonder if we watched that together. It was these lights in LA that were like blinking, and the guy had worked it out that they were like coordinates to stars or something. This video that we watched on YouTube. I mean,
Hmm.
this person put a lot of research into like the pattern that the lights were appearing, like coincided with like star patterns or something. Do you remember that? Did we watch that together?
I'm trying to think if I remember it.
It was interesting because it was like
I have a
the
vague
aliens
memory of
are
it.
communicating with us, and they're communicating with us by the way that they're showing their ships to us.
Yes,
You know, that
absolutely.
is the talking. The
Yes,
way that they're showing, like, 7 lights, 9 lights, 3 lights,
right.
and the pattern that they're coming, like, I don't know if we watched that together or not. It was super cool. He said it a lot smarter.
So, I mean, it could have also been the next level. I just had the thought just now that we're trying to distract the space aliens from where they were going to leave from, so that they wouldn't try to interfere with their leaving in some way, or prepare humans for for their leaving in that area, because they need time. See, the space aliens can't just go to somebody and say, "Hey, why don't you go over to that story over there, or why don't you go talk to this person over here to learn this, because this is about to happen," and so whether they can do that or not depends on whether they've got somebody that is actually so responsive to that has power, that has the ability to put things into motion or go take certain photographs, or even set up a facsimile event or something, or I can just think of like you can have a movie about how sabotage works, and to where you're trying to give people a different impression about things that happen, and take control. Like, I imagine that the space aliens really wanted to get a hold of those tapes, because they would have had to know that the tapes were there. Uh, um, so uh, and they want to squash the whole thing. They don't want it to be out at all. But if it is out, then um, they want to twist it or have it out only in certain ways, limited, allow it to happen. Uh, but see, the next level lab is working on that. And so they don't let the space aliens toy with everything. And they have ways of getting around what the space aliens want to do, and that's by the human laws. So you have copyrights. I mean, not just that, but you have the ability to have freedom of religion in this country. Initially thinking, for the most part, even though there's been all kinds of things, to challenge that. So I mean, so you can have the Heaven's Gate website up, because if it's true what I said that they don't want that information to be available to anybody, then it certainly would have been gone by now. And it's being under attack right now.
Yeah.
Even it's under attack even by the ones that are running the site or are attacking that information by claiming that I'm proselytizing and it's a safety issue. Keep me from talking about it. And the only place that can go, I think, is to the government stepping in and saying maybe none of you should be doing this. To display of the website. Even though the position is clearly against the S word and self-exiting, because we're humans. And so, we don't have to beat around the bush about that. It's right there on the website on the front page. And the fourth, I think, bullet down talks about that position and why in detail. So, so I don't know. But if it comes to that, it comes to that. And I'm not saying, I don't know when the next level might be okay with that because it's going to die away. I don't know how long it's going to take. As long as Doe talked about it in certain ways, I'm not going to go into that right now, but um, that it diminishes. Our minds lose the capacity to believe that this is real more and more. I don't know, we hold on to it by continuing to dig into it and stay with it and think about it and uh, you know put what we want to into effect in our lives in relationship to the whole teachings and so that keeps a soul alive, I believe, and we can't judge who is doing that and who's not doing that because it's a matter of what's in their hearts. And so another point of view on the Phoenix Lights um, is the path it took. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just making things up now. I don't know. But uh, it did take a path from Nevada and what was it, Warrensburg?
You had that picture on
Yeah,
Wickenburg.
Wickenburg, and down to past Phoenix and then to Tucson. Well, uh, I think they were in Tucson in 1995. In fact, Tucson is where the two beings, well, no, two beings seen by seven individuals uh, showed up in the class, in the craft, in Tucson, I believe. And I only know this from Rio's book because he was there at the time. Okay, I just got a treat.
I'm sorry. I have 2 bites left that I just
You want
can't.
to pack it up?
I just can't manage to eat.
No, it's good.
Do you have room for one more? I know you're in
Yeah,
the
I'll take
middle.
one more.
Okay. That's whole milk Greek yogurt plain with banana, cinnamon, and a drizzle of honey.
Good. and using up our bananas.
But we also like cupcakes, cookies,
Yeah. No, we have sweet teas as
We're
well.
like sitting around eating yogurt and bananas and honey for dessert.
So, I'll get to the chat in a few minutes, but um, the path it took, the path that the Phoenix Light, the main V-shaped or boomerang-shaped um, object, yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. The Carpenter Square. Uh-huh. Yeah. It is interesting what people how they think about it, right? Because they could be picking up on um, with their illustrations, even picking up on things that have references, in the past, different anyway shapes and things, even hieroglyphics and stuff. You never can tell, right? But but in this case, it went right by Prescott, and Tiendo felt well. Not I shouldn't say T because I don't know if T felt this way about Paradise Valley where we lived because we lived in Scottsdale, we lived in Paradise Valley, in big homes, huge mansions. They were next to each other. You know what I mean? So they didn't have a lot of property. Maybe a couple acres sometimes, or an acre maybe. And so they were set back. One of them was a single level that was very big, and the back had a full tennis court outside, and a swimming pool, and but another one had walls around the whole thing and had a handball court, a squash court in the basement underground. There was other basement areas, I think, but
Phoenix Lights.
yeah, Phoenix Lights. So it went by Prescott and went down and then down to Tucson where those two beings in 1995 showed up, and this event somehow in this Matthew Buter documentary.
He's the one that called it Tucson.
Yeah, he called it Tucson, by the way, which is the way that Doug would say it. I remember when he said that, I thought, wow, that's the
I
way.
laughed actually. I was like, he mispronounced Tucson.
Which now I've said that. I've told people that some of them.
If you'd never heard the word Tucson, you wouldn't. If you actually,
Yeah, yeah, right.
it's like people were laughing at us in Georgia.
So that was funny. So I mean that's the little coincidences that happen, whatever they are. But but I guess that area in there, of central Arizona, there's a lot of New Age.
It was a very special,
Yeah,
place there.
yeah. Um, yeah, and Sedona and all the mystique with the colors and everything in that area. It's like it's magical. And I felt it when I went there for the first time, more or less, in 1970. Well, actually, 1989 maybe, with the class where we moved it to Albuquerque area. But I didn't go to Sedona until many years later, after I left the class. But um, you know, when my daughter, or I took my daughter to the playground, and I met some other parent that was taking her daughter to the playground, and we got to talking a little bit, and she removed alien implants. As she had a part-time job for removing alien implants from people. And I knew somebody else that removed alien implants living in the San Francisco Bay Area. But I mean,
does that mean?
well, all I know is that right. What does that mean?
And how much money can you make telling people you're removing alien implants from them?
Yeah, right.
Hook us up.
Well, it had to do with the way I understood it.
Sorry,
It was from Arthodi's partner at the time, in the one in the San Francisco Bay Area. She had an appointment one time, and I was staying in their house in another room, and I heard some yelling happening in this room. She was giving a treatment to somebody, I think. She wasn't doing anything to hurt them. I don't think physically.
Like an exorcism.
It might have been like an exorcism kind of thing.
So it wasn't like a surgical.
No, no, I don't think so. No, I don't have any suspicion of anything like that. I don't think at all. I think it was a mental exorcism, like you said, of getting rid of that.
How much can you charge people?
Yeah. Well, see, that's not like an unusual. Yeah, yeah, that's right. They do that, and Catholics do it, and others do it. You know, they have these mechanisms for getting what they consider to be an evil spirit out of somebody.
There is some value to that.
There could be, sure,
They
there
may
could
be
be.
driving out influences. Might not
Right.
be for long.
Yeah.
They may come back.
But I guess the reason I'm bringing it up is I'm just saying that there's a lot of people in the West, especially. I mean, they're all over, okay, but and they're not bad people. I'm not trying to say that at all,
I think they're
because
providing.
they could be providing a good service, but they're yeah,
Unless people are being, taking advantage of gullible people.
yeah, right. We don't know if somebody. Right, because you can put up your shingle, that you're psychic, and then if you have the confidence of it, and yeah, you could, yeah, you could.
Mom gave me this moo moo.
But see, I don't want to mislead anybody,
A little piece.
so I couldn't. But I did. Yeah, right. Yeah, she's got this pattern, this really colorful moo. But uh, well, I've been thinking about whether I wanted to use what I learned in the classroom to do some astrological charts for somebody that might want it done. But anyway, I don't know if I'll do anything official with that, like a page somewhere where I can talk about things. But it might be a good idea. Yeah, because I'd rather do that because I'd also be trying to ask T&O for help with it, but it wouldn't be something that somebody else couldn't do for themselves. If they want to ask T&O help with some question of some sort. That would be my preference for them if that's something they believed in. But if they wanted to see what I would come up with astrologically speaking, um, I will try to do a good job on that. So I'm not going to take that lightly. It's not something I want to just you know start spilling out things in order to make money or something. I do want to make some funds from it, for my time, for sure, and effort, because otherwise I just won't be motivated to do it. and we were taught that it was given to us as something to do by Tiendo when they formed what was called Astrologics in Amarillo, Texas. And that was approximately 1982. And and we got an office space. Wasn't involved in getting the space, but Tiendo, got an office space, and we went to it and fixed it up, and then uh, like Mark was making stained glass windows, little small ones, out of little pieces, kits, I guess, that they would get or whatever. And Alodi was painting the Saturn rings with his airbrush in one room, not right down the hall from where Mercodi was making the stained glass things. The hallway that had little alcoves in it. For little. They could be like little offices, but they didn't have walls, and so you were just right there, so you'd walk by them when you go into the back room where other things were happening. Or there was a big meeting room, and then there was another fairly large sized room, and then there was a room where people could come in, and all of these paintings were all in frames all around that room where the people would from the town of Amarillo would come. And we had several times where people came, and we had a whole bunch of folding chairs set up, and then there was a glass that was a one-way glass, and T and Do went behind that, sat behind that, so that they could observe what was going on without being seen, because they just didn't want to be seen. They weren't into. They were experimenting with doing this because they wanted to have the ability to be funded by doing something for the next level more than like you know pounding nails or whatever jobs we can get, and which are good jobs. All the jobs that help us live can be of great value, of course. To pay for our food and everything. But they wanted to have us working on craft things because and astrology was part of that, and so the way that they did it was uh, they had I don't know how many astrologers there were, but there were, I think Arthodi was an astrologer, I was an astrologer. We weren't listed. Our names weren't listed anywhere as astrologers. Surodi was an astrologer. I think Sunodi did some natal charts. I And then Kodori was interface with the public, and Kodori didn't graduate, so he wasn't among them. And and I think Dan Sorty might have been doing some natal charts as well at that time, um, and I was doing some progressions, and Surodi was doing progressions as well. Um, and we would do them by different methods. There's if you get into astrology and all that, and that was the result of T starting us with astrology as a game, and saying it didn't really apply to us anymore if we weren't going to stay in the human world. But in the human world, some of those things in the astrological charts can have reference to the way we are, the way we think, the way our genes and development and with the society, and everything can have a certain amount of influence on us, and there's lots of ways to think about that as actually databases of like the discarnates can all be like little parts of the database, like little modules of a body of information that can influence somebody in a certain direction. And who knows whether the magnetism that comes from the planets that goes out way beyond the planets themselves, and probably even is part of the cosmic radiation that scientists talk about coming, outside the sun, and or from the like this Oyumama or this Atlas spacecraft or whatever it is, uh, seems to
It's
be.
Oh Mau Mau.
Yeah, Omaumau was the
Yes, Oh
previous
Mau
one.
Mau.
Omaumau?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. I'll
that's right.
probably say that right now. Omaumau. That sounds like a 1950s rock and roll song,
It really does.
doesn't it?
Uh
Right, exactly. That's the
huh.
exact song I was thinking of.
I know. I heard it in my head. Oh, mau 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 mau
Yeah,
mau.
yeah, yeah. So, uh, so anyway, the
Interstellar
the
object.
path of the Phoenix Lights, to me,
Yeah.
was not necessary. To me, that's more of the suggestion to that it's next level. There's like aspects of it that it's not just one thing. It's not just something that I think what the space aliens do is things like Fatima, and part of the reasoning for this, and there's other things that they can do. Like if they want to try to make a statue of some saint bleed from their hands or something, maybe they can do like holograms with that kind of thing. I don't mean holograms. I mean like, well, yeah, holograms. You know, right. So you
Well, one
actually.
I think was found that it had like a spring like behind it or
Oh,
something.
did it?
That was, I don't know, maybe I just read this in a book and it could totally be fake. But I feel like there was like a spring behind like a statue, and the statue was leaking like blood from its eyes. And it was because there was like iron or something in the mountain
Mm.
or whatever. And at certain times of the year, it was like flowing somewhere and then coming down and then actually leaking through
Hmm.
the rock. So it just happened to be, there's another one of those. It just happened to be coming out. They found out because maybe the statue was destroyed somehow,
Oh,
and then that water came out.
that's
So
neat. That's a neat. I never heard that before.
I could have
That's
just made all that up though,
no, but I believe that makes sense to me.
but I
That
feel like I read that somewhere.
things develop, where you get shrines and things sometimes
Right,
from
like
something that's a natural thing.
the
But
oracle at Delphi. It's like which is the Greek thing.
mm,
Um, it's there's like gases leaking out of the bowels of the earth there where this priestess, these priests and priestesses and accolades and whatever were going, and they were having these intense visions and hallucinations, and they were thinking that they were communicating with gods and stuff, but they were being poisoned with gases coming out of the earth.
oh, really?
Yeah, like methane
Gee.
and like
Well, what about like the people that are theosophers? That I mean, Doe had us visit some theosophers a time or two in the '90s, I think it was, and we went to a small group of us went, and then another group I think went, so that everybody got to go without sending 20 from five
yeah.
people there, but whatever it was, the number at that moment, but and they had their saint in a glass box, their image of
Blavatsky.
their. Yeah, this was the Blavatsky's
Yeah.
group that formed. But no, she wasn't in the glass. This saint from India was in the glass. And he was said to have purported, they used the word purported, jewels out of his palms of his hands. And I wondered about that, and I wondered if that was like an example of something that might be like a hologram that the
Well, I
space
mean, and the
aliens could do.
guy could have just been,
Yeah,
sleight of hand.
right, or that might have grown to be exaggerated. And see, the part of that is like that the way that many Christians put a lot of things into the miracles that Jesus was recorded to have committed or performed, or however you want to look at it. But Doe felt like 90% of that was exaggerated, and so that shows you that that shows you next level thinking. Because not that it was necessarily exactly, if a human would take that and say, oh well, it looks like if you take all the miracles and you know, uh, add them up in some way, what's likely to have been a miracle and what was exaggerated, and then you would determine that 90% of them was, and if it didn't come out that way, then Doe was wrong. I guess. It's silliness, but I guess these influences come into my head to tell me that people think that way. But so I should just scoot them out,
Hmm.
which I did. So let me go to the chat because I could probably keep on carrying on about stuff, and I will if there's nothing in the chat going on. But Cyrus says, "Yeah, I seen that. I got it. This was a long time ago. He said this. I got an email through USPS. Oh, yes, we know about that one. Kathy read that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that you got a date on that." And then Cyrus says the Roswell incident. Right, right. We read that already too. And we talked about it a little bit. But the video is laggy, but audio is okay. Okay, thanks for that, Osiris. Joseph Coates. It's like when one of Sawyer's family members asked him, "How did you get out?" Yeah. Uh, right. How did you get out? You remember that? Yeah. I was at a wedding. I was asked that more than once by family members, but I went to a family member's wedding, and one of the guests there, you know, said, I said, "Oh, it was easy to get out." I said, "I just uh, said I wanted to leave." I didn't give her the whole story because it is a big story. But
When we went through the chat.
yeah, so Trump is warning about another Great Depression. Oh yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised, but maybe he's preparing us because he wants it to happen. I don't know, or he's being the. I don't know why he's saying that.
Yeah, I thought we were making money.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, right? Because he's all about saying that he's going to share some of the money from Doge with everybody in the public, and that they supposedly in the Social Security bill they were getting rid of taxes so that some people, I guess, will get more money. And I don't get that. I mean, I know they're getting rid of food stamps still, and they were doing that before Trump, but making it harder. That's a kind of a administration thing, whatever you are, because they do the reason it's fraud and abuse, right? But then they always seem to put in other things in there to that can affect the average person that's not fraudulent or abusive. I don't know. We still got it pretty good, and I'm not I'm not really complaining. But I know some people don't have that happening with them, and uh, I guess it's it becomes complicated. I am loser. I mean, it's not that complicated in my mind, but
But maybe just when you read that person's name, just say I am.
I am okay.
I don't
Well,
like
I
hearing
am
you
is like
say I
saying
am. Yeah, but I don't like hearing you say I am.
right.
So it's
Well,
kind of almost like a troll thing.
anyway, that individual says who was the most recent member to join the class and graduated in 1997. Well, that would have been Devotee.
It's easy enough to.
DVVODY.
Two V's.
Yes.
I like that.
And I wasn't there when she joined. All right, looks like I'm caught up. I'm caught up, and let's see
The Phoenix Lights.
the
There's the
Phoenix
reel
Lights.
that they were talking
What
about
else
that.
can you think about that is interesting to think about and talk about? Anything come to mind? Well, I will say a little bit something if you don't have anything immediately. But well, you know what? I'm going to go to the tape, right? Because I got all that posted there, and for those that can't read it, it says that it's the rough notes from audio tape 276, which is the same thing I had up there yesterday or last time I did a stream, maybe even twice now. I don't know. Because there's all kinds of things to continue to talk about in those streams. Um, and one of them was this was recorded on November 24th, 1987. For anybody that is new to this,
I did think about like the as far as the Phoenix Lights. Sorry, like we were wondering if the class had known about that.
right? That is something good to think about, I think. And um, we that's to me a reason why I have to go to this. That I think we should be allowed to have access to those whatever tapes were made between January and March of 1997 by Doe and crew. Um, the last one we have is Wanoti on a phone call with the class.
Yeah, it's several. It's more
Several
than just
class
one.
members
Yeah, it's
were
more
with
than
him.
just Wanoti.
Yes, and we don't remember exactly who they were. We're not prepared to talk about that right this moment, but that phone call. But it is a tape that Mark gave to Wanoti, and Wanoti made it available to us.
To you.
To me, right, to me, not anybody else. Uh, anyway, so um,
Because I didn't even know you then.
yeah, Wanoti wanted me to share it with other people. So that was, part of it. And and anyway, I'm not going to go there, but uh,
That's the last tape, so we don't know.
yeah, so that was Wanoti giving a report of having gone to a UFO convention. Maybe it was Nevada, was it?
I have no idea. I am not prepared to talk about it. I have no idea.
Yeah. So
I don't want to speculate. But it was at least 3 to 4, almost 5 members of the group calling in. Not just, I just want to.
well, and we thought about whether if Doe was a see, I can't imagine that Doe wasn't aware of it
Yeah.
because of how close to his ear was on all these different anybody that was talking about UFOs. He had a certain paying attention to, over time. And it wasn't all the time, day and night for him, I don't think. Uh, but for a while there, we were definitely. But the '88 update was sent to MUFON, for example, and other organizations, and and the reason T went to I won't go there, but there's all kinds of evidence of how we were watching satellite dishes and we had Paranet while I was in the class in 1993, and which was a bulletin board service that you would get in touch with through a phone line modem connection, and then you could stay online, and they were posting things, and they would talk about what other people, Bill Lear was on there, and saying that the aliens were eating us. This was like 1973. We were hearing that kind of thing, and that didn't sound right
But
to him.
Paranet didn't exist in 1973, did it?
Yeah.
It wasn't on the internet, though, because the internet didn't exist.
No, not
in
73. I'm sorry, 93. 93 was when the bulletin board services were running.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And before that, we had satellite dishes with, all kinds of channels on them. And I don't remember any that were about UFOs. But,
That would be interesting.
yeah, I
In the
mean,
80s.
we were watching probably a dozen different evangelicals to see how they were thinking, to see how, if we were going to try to communicate with them. Though it was, a lot of tapes that we've been talking about are all about the second interface with the public that Doe didn't feel like he was going to do. So you can't even say that it was an ego trip because he didn't want to do it. He didn't think it was for him to do. He felt like it was the job of the students to do it because his job was to gather the students that were with him.
Need some water, baby?
Anyway, what's that?
Water?
Oh, yeah.
You have no. Do you need more?
No, I'm still good. So, so we don't know what they said about the Phoenix Lights.
Or if they're, yeah. We were trying to figure that out.
But
Because they didn't say anything about it in their exit statements.
we know there's another, according to the information we got from Mark, I think that was even verified, 1,064 tapes, the way I remember it. Is that right?
For
And
66.
we know we only have 900 and something that we have in our possession. Or I have in my possession because I'm the only one that has them. But
Well, I guess since I live with you.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
they're
right.
in the same room with us, but they're on my laptop. That's how we listen to them off of my
Yeah.
laptop. But anyway, so let's see. I got off the track of what I was.
Well, you're talking about the tape.
Right. That. Right.
And
So we
if
know there's
the
another
class,
100 tapes,
yeah, might have known.
according to that, if those numbers are right. Even though we know that like at least 20 of those in that number don't actually have anything on them or don't exist at all because they were missing, and it says that in the tape logs, which ones those pertain to. But we don't have all the tape logs,
Anyway.
and that's part of what I would like to have. Because maybe in the tape logs, it would say, okay, they talked about this and talked about that. Mm. It's like somebody doesn't.
What about the Men in Black involved with that?
Oh yeah, the Men in Black were involved with the Phoenix Lights with the council person that well, it was supposedly that she was in touch with some fellow that said that he had videotape of that would show the shape of the craft that was moving overhead. and somehow uh, two individuals showed up at her door,
His door.
his door, and he went over to her and told her about it, right? And no, he disappeared. But how did she find out about him after and what happened? No, wait.
People could go watch the video themselves.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we won't go through that.
So go look at the Phoenix Lights documentary. It's only 20 minutes. It's not like some crazy huge.
Yeah,
long
so
thing.
anyway, I don't know if there was anything to say about the Men in Black because, it can look like, would that be Next Level members doing that? I don't think so.
They suppressed that footage. So.
Right, they suppressed the footage. So
I mean,
Next Level
maybe.
I don't think so.
If they didn't want it to be.
That doesn't make sense to me. Because actually, the reason why it doesn't make sense to me is because if the Next Level was doing a task, they would blend into the environment.
Well, and they flew over the entire state of Arizona with 2-mile wide spaceships, so you wouldn't think that they'd be like, oh, we got to suppress a picture of it.
Right. They wanted to be seen what
There
they
was
wanted to be
footage of
seen.
it.
Even if it was space alien generated, they wanted to be seen to the degree that they were seen.
Yeah.
But I think more and more that it was Next Level generated. And I could be wrong. Also because of the way that the military tried to uh, deny that it happened, or say that it was those lights, those
Flares.
right?
Luke
And,
Air Force Base.
right. So they came up with that, and the governor did seem, in my opinion, to actually uh, see something. I could be wrong, but that came out after he retired, so to me he would be more inclined to tell the truth and keep it vague as well, so that if there was something else going on with that, it was not apparent because we don't know whether um, the Next Level or the space aliens um, let humans in on what they were about to do, because we do have evidence that there have been relationships with the space aliens and certain space races and humans, whether it was the Rendleshire thing in England, and I think things happened in China and things, but also, with the Holloman Air Force Base event that allegedly happened, and then the Dulce event that happened in 1979 with the some kind of a battle with the space aliens who operated, you know, some 4 or 5 floors beneath the underground facility that the humans had, and they were even further down, and they supposedly had an altercation, they called it, and some humans were killed in that. And anyway, we don't know if the humans, if the space aliens sent a message somehow to somebody in Luke Air Force Base, uh, you know, but to me it was to spin it to where it wasn't uh, from outer space, because I don't think that really space aliens really want that many people thinking about that way, because they want to keep the brass, the people that have the most influence over the budgets, keep on working on their ways of having weapons, to try to fight against what they consider to be the bad aliens, which they've been calling the Greys, and from Reticula, working like the Greys were the robots, or for the reptilians, and from Drago, and So that was part of the thinking, and I don't know how much of that is, you know, foolery, but doesn't mean that it is necessarily foolery, because the next level has ways of keeping things real enough so that we can, we don't have to put so much stock in some of that symbolism that we can't get the picture of what's happening. That the space aliens are actually, influencing humans in all different directions, but to get off the planet was one. Doe talks about this in USA Today information ad that's in the Heaven's Gate book on heavensgate.com. That they've got a campaign of actually hiding information. What do you call it?
Suppression?
Depression?
Suppression?
Suppression of the information, of the truth? Yes, definitely suppression of the truth. But a misinformation campaign, literally want to not humans to understand what's going on because they want to keep the humans as slaves, uh, and they want the humans to be enslaved to their governments because then they can make the most money for their programs. To come up with medicines, to treat their problems so they can live forever, to come up with elements that can give them anti-gravity so they have particle bombardment, in order to try to develop new elements. And also being able to go on to Moon and Mars and other places to harvest minerals and hydrogen 3, no, helium 3, is the element that they they have some suspicion is that if a heavy metal of some sort could have that composition like a magnet, right? It can actually produce power. It can be something that's harnessable, just like the way that we harness magnets to actually have transportation. That's no fossil fuels, no nuclear. So they want to mine Mars. They want to mine Ceres. Dwarf planet Ceres. And it's interesting to me that this atlas we just saw today in a little part of another documentary that we were watching about it, um, was talking about that it was headed, whatever trajectory it has at this moment, and it is heading it from interstellar space, but coming in to be between the orbit of Mars and Jupiter, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
Yeah, and so that's where the asteroid belt is, right? And that's where also the planet Ceres is located.
Is it a planet or a star?
Ceres is a planet. It's a dwarf planet. It's got different classifications, but it's considered to be the biggest asteroid, but it's large. I don't know what its dimensions are, but it was big enough and it was showing all these lights on it, and these big bright lights were showing that the Hubble telescope saw. And
Yeah.
so they built a spacecraft and sent it up there to look. And when it got close, it saw that it was like a whole bunch of lights, and it was actually heat sources. And one of the sources of lights was not a heat source, and the other source of lights was a heat source. So to me, you've got some elements there, at least, that are very powerful, and I think they want to try to harvest that. And it might be the next level's little storehouse for the element that Bob Lazar found when he backwards engineered the the engine or whatever you want to call it of that one of those spacecrafts that he said he saw that there were like 5 of them, and he saw some of them operational, and I don't doubt that. um, some of this, when there's leaks, you know, uh, can be because the next level wants leaks. Because the next level wants the truth to come out, and they know it needs to come out slowly because people aren't ready for it all at the same time. But Kathy and I were talking, feeling like this day and age, probably anybody could handle that as being real, and you're still going to have people that are going to say that it's all a bunch of baloney, that never happens at all, and it's just made up in Hollywood and all that. Okay, but you have people that say that about pretty much everything. Like Elvis isn't dead, and that may be true, but I don't think so. I think a lot of times those things are, and the other ones, with conspiracies on the death of Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, and you know, overdoses. But then there's always connections that people make with like conspiracies.
They were all 27.
Yeah, right, right. Which
Jim
I don't.
Morrison, too.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Right, Jim Morrison was another one. And there could be things. Who knows what entities were. We don't know what entities surround us. And surround other people. And what you know. I mean, we do get ideas about that, and so anyway. But I'm not going to go through all that. Let me go back to the chat. Henry Allender says, "Have you ever listened to Hawkwind? And did passing of Ozzy mean you anything?" And says later on, he says, "Sirius is a star." Yes, Sirius is a star. And Doe was most attracted to that belt on Orion's uh, belt. It was three lights. When he would look up at the heavens, that's what he felt most attracted to. And some people are saying that that's where the um, bad space aliens are coming from. I don't know if they're saying that because of Doe. You never can tell because Doe certainly knew that he would be considered by Christians to be an antichrist, even though there's no truth to it. It's the opposite, and that can be proven. But if you got your mind on not being able to, or not wanting to even look at the truth and consider what's different about this that might be true, then those people are not going to ever necessarily wake up more. I mean, I'm not saying they will or won't. I hope that everybody can wake up more. Me too. There's, there's so much more we can become aware of, and anyway, we'll keep on going with. Cyrus says, "Have you ever thought of putting these live stream sessions and or backlogs on Spotify or any other likewise app to pass it as a podcast?" Huh. I haven't thought of doing that. I didn't think there would be enough people to want it, you know, because I have to pay for it putting it on Spotify. Can't just do it for free. I have put music on Spotify, if you want to call it music. Some of it was kind of questial. Questial? I was gonna say the name of it was, let's see, Bestial, what was it? Bestial something was the name of the song I had on Spotify. kind of a crude kind of song. Anyway, but I don't think I made anything from it. I was going to get like a penny, I think, every time somebody played it. But they wouldn't give you any money unless you made a certain amount of pennies. And I never got to that lowest amount. I don't know how many I made. But thanks for thinking about it. Because, if there was some reason that would change, if I could sell some of my music or the podcasts, why not? Yes, Joseph Coates, the Men in Black. Joseph Coates says, "Oh wait, mother passed the day after Hulk Hogan, but I know she's at peace. Still something I'm processing, and haven't spoken much with people yet." Yeah,
We're
I
sorry to hear that.
yeah, it's like I hear you. It's difficult.
Yes, it is.
Henry Highlander. Okay, wait. Let's see. Joseph Coates says, "Oh, you also asked about the passing of Ozzy. I didn't really grow up with Ozzy, so I didn't know much about him, or really didn't listen to much of his music. But Kathy did, I
I didn't
think.
really listen to a lot of it. He came in concert, so I went to see him in concert. Because that's just what you did in the 80s.
Oh, Rise Above is here. He said, "Hello, Kathy and Sawyer," in chat. Hmm. Carrie says, "Do you folks stream on TikTok?" No, we haven't ventured there yet. We tried do something on Instagram, and I don't know. They were just.
You know, we're old.
Then we got sued. It was like, oh boy, well, we don't want another place where they could try to find something against us.
But also, it's just a lot of effort.
Yeah, yeah, we'd have to get. See, I'm using OBS, and it's free, as you all know. And I think I'd have, in order to stream in multiple locations. But I guess I could probably send this stream to my Instagram account. I do have one. I don't know if you can do that. Can you just post like a video link?
I don't know.
Yeah, see, I don't know enough about it. Well, folks, maybe I said enough, or I didn't go through the rough notes at all. I'll go through a little bit of that since I've got some on the screen, so you can see how rough these notes are because you got there's words that are they're not really words in this typing. But Doe was talking about some students um, that were no longer in the classroom, and he was talking about anybody that I think was sent out of the classroom, that he wasn't sending them out of the classroom. Wait, out of the class.
Mm-hmm.
He was sending them out of the classroom. And the way he described that was that the, the houses that we were living in were belonged to our older members, where our older members lived. And so we were living in their house, their dwelling, their residence, even if we weren't in the same exact building. That was all their. We were trying to live to their standards. we were trying to, be them, have them in our everyday activity, on our minds, and everything they were teaching. Not just them as people. We weren't worshiping them as, like bowing down and anything like that. But there was a certain amount of definite awe and respect for them that I always had. Um, so anyway, um, but this became clear. So Doe is talking about this, and he says that to basically in so many words that to allow someone to stay in the classroom, no, to stay in the classroom, the location where the older members were having their class primarily, um, um, was the way he said it. That he said to him was, uh, "There's no way that they can be in my house in that frame of mind." A frame of mind that was not looking to their older members for everything, trying to. It's a process. It doesn't happen automatically. It's not like the way that you see all these other cults talking about, you got to do everything the way of the leader and all that. And they're getting an ego boost out of that for the most part. Or they're getting financial help with that, or they're getting, some kind of not that they're not offering somebody something at the same time. It's like doesn't mean that they're like all evil or something. Uh, everybody can get something from everything they experience, and most of the time, what we get out of is what is leading closer and closer to the next level. And so we see through things, more and more that we don't want to, that doesn't float our boat anymore. And that's how we get out of things that uh, can actually entrap us into not even wanting to look for anything else. Um, which, that's those are all choices in the human kingdom. Anyway, so Doe says after that, talking about that he wouldn't have somebody that didn't want to be there basically and go through all the lesson programs if they were not wanting to be there themselves and be a part of the lesson programs and the lesson steps. Not they can't say that I'm not going to do that or do this. If if they want to say that, then they're free to say that, but they need to do it somewhere else because they didn't want to be interfered with. And anyway, so Doe said in this same tape, 276, he says, "I'm giving you fair warning that no one is going to be kicked out unless if you don't get control, you could be asked to leave that house. You're not going to be asked to leave the class." And that's why even the dropouts now, which I am one of, are still potentially, to some degree of service in to Doe. And so I'm getting certain lessons from it. And I know that's happening. So anyway, I'm going to move on to the next. So he goes on to say in this tape that how can you serve your older member if you're bickering? You wouldn't act in that way if I was in the room with you. So you don't believe I am in that room with you, and you forget it for that time. And in a ridiculous other extreme, I want to see the extremes that they abide. Let's see. Well, I can't make sense out of those notes right now, so I'm not going to try to fill in the gaps with that. So, sorry about that. But when he's talking about the urgency and the bickering part, which this tape is full of lessons for different students. If you want to see what the particular students' names were in them, you can. Well, You're not going to see the names in the tapes. Well, yeah, you'll hear them say, I'm in it, and a number of students are in it. So, and some that are still alive in vehicles now. Um, but uh, but in terms of the bickering, well, it's interesting that it's just it's not the way of a member of the next level to bicker with somebody else. Um, and defending ourselves when if we're accused of something in the classroom doesn't work. It's not real. It's not the way of a member of the next level to say something to somebody that they would then be triggered to defend. And if they did say something to another person and they felt a defensive response coming on, they would know that that wasn't the best response. That wasn't the way that a better member of the next level would respond. I don't know if they have any defensiveness in their next level vehicles, because it's the lower forces and it's the vibration of humanism that has people fighting back at others. You know, but of course in this environment, uh, I feel like sometimes you have to fight back because otherwise the lower forces that use people sometimes they'll do you in. And Jesus talked about this, saying that find agreement with your adversary while you're in the way with them, so that you can avoid going to the court and going to jail and then paying a hefty price for not finding agreement. Now, I don't know what that it meant exactly in terms of finding agreement, but uh, um, I know that I would love to find agreement um, with the individuals that are suing us. So, but if they're not willing to um, have terms for an agreement, well then I guess I have to defend myself because I'm not going to just allow uh, myself to be accused of something that is not wrong in the first place in terms of T and Do's teachings, and and that could I guess if they want all the money that they were claiming that they want from the few T-shirts that I sold, uh, it's going to get nothing to that. I'll give them $100 if we get everything we want, for the T-shirts that I sold, because that's what it amounts to at the most, way beyond actually probably what was made from those T-shirts. So it's petty to me. This is petty bickering. But I don't know that I have a choice in it because I'm not going to just give in to this. I really can't. I can't even afford to. Because what if I end up having a possession that's worth some money? And then they win, and then they're going to say the judge is going to come up with an order that I've got to give them that? Or they've got to tap my wages or something? It's ridiculous. You know, and the way that they worded the cease and desist was that if I was doing something against them, then they could charge my kids, for what I do. It's so downright uh, crude behavior to be doing this, but um, that's all I'm going to say about it. Doe was, at the end of his rope, so to speak. I guess I shouldn't say it that way. Well, even though these are little things to people, like giving somebody a dirty look, we're supposed to be way beyond that. But influences were influencing class members with certain other class members to, do that kind of thing. Anyway, I think I've said enough about it. It was a difficult tape to listen to because the students, they weren't being, uh, uh, I don't feel like they were being treated badly by Doe, but he was direct. He wasn't beating around the bush, and he was giving ideas of why certain things were not acceptable anymore. And he didn't want to have a classroom if we're not trying to apply the lesson by keeping them on our minds more. And that's what humans are all going through, lesson opportunities. Whether we see it that way or not, that's another story altogether. Whether we, what lessons we work on is another story, as things happen. Anyway, so I'm not going to say any more about that tape right now. In fact, I'm going to go back to the chat, and if there's nothing new coming up, I'm going to turn into a pumpkin. So I'm going to work tomorrow, I think.
Don't turn into a pumpkin. Yeah, I don't want to. I can't work. The back.
Yeah. No, you just
I
Kathy
broke
just
my
did
back.
12 hours of driving.
I broke my back.
Well, Dio Nerd is here, and he said, "What do you think about the 3i Atlas stuff?" And I think it's next level. That's what I think.
Yeah, we watched. That was a good video. I mean, it got boring towards the end, but there was still some good info in it.
Yeah, they went through.
Lots of graphs and stuff.
Yeah, he's probably watched them all, a bunch of them. Yeah, Kathy will send you the link that we just watched, which was pretty good. It was better than the other ones I've watched. He's pointing out the different things that are the different characteristics of this object, and compared to even Borisov and Mumu. The DSM 999 says, "Don't turn into a pumpkin until Halloween." All right, it's a deal.
Dial to nerd if I accidentally send you a thing of my coloring, sorry. But watch it and give me a damn like. I think that one I just sent.
I don't know if he can hear you. Kathy's sending you a link. So Nerd says, "It's so strange it's on the same axis as our planetary alignment and will be on the other side of the sun when it passes us, so we won't get a good look at it."
First one I sent you was accidentally my coloring. Wink, wink, I accidentally sent you a coloring video. Give me a view. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it necessarily looks the way that they're making it look by making it into looking like a rock object, but it might be. It might be because they've got their color ways of seeing the reflection of the light and seeing what elements are on it, right? I don't know if it's a spacecraft. I don't pretend to know, but I think it's possible. I don't really have any question that it's possible, but I don't think it's space alien. I don't think they can go certain places, certain distances, maybe even certain directions. They've got limited mobility. That's what the whole fall meant. That they were now restricted to the Earth, and that included the near space, according to Doe, the near space around the Earth. So we just don't know how far that near space goes in order to determine that. But maybe maybe there is a certain amount of radioactive exposure in the Van Allen belt that can be detrimental to the health of somebody, but wouldn't necessarily kill them on the spot. We don't know that all radiation is necessarily deadly either. Like um, like Tiendo didn't think that having a nuclear reactor was necessarily wrong. It wasn't gonna. But what to do with the waste is something that needs to be taken care of so that it doesn't cause people to die. But small exposures to things isn't necessarily uh, bad for the vehicles. The vehicles, can have different needs over time. We don't know how much these vehicles are capable of. Well, I mean, we do know in some ways, right? A certain amount of radiation is gonna, burn your hair off, or you know, uh, you know, in the old days, they started giving people X-rays. Uh, they were giving women that were pregnant X-rays on a regular basis, and it was the reason why they had all kinds of babies with no arms and stuff, and with cancers and things, because they didn't know how to protect the person. They're experimenting on people. They've been doing it for a long time. And yeah, they learned some things from it, but I think they could learn those things, and they could have safeguards in place um, when they see the first signs of destruction of biology. You know, when they use their X-rays and things. If they don't put enough attention into that, then it becomes something that they think of. Well, it's too expensive to do that. And it's going to benefit, 1,000 people are going to live better because of this medicine. And if 20 die because of the medicine, well, it helped 1,000 to live longer. But so that's the way they think. So it's practical thinking. It's not like it's evil thinking, except if you're one of those 20 that got. But if you agreed to take the experimental stuff, that's fine. But people should be informed of what the testing was on something beforehand. So yeah, this place is going upside down. Yeah, it's the loony bin. Yeah, people becoming wilder and wilder. Yep. cuckoo and striking out, and not even being able to help, curb their anger and find help with dealing with it, and thinking they need to be the Grim Reaper, because they need to take out certain people. And so it's escalating. The destruction of the mind and bodies of many humans is, it's like it's destroying itself from within. I don't think there's going to be an outside force that's going to come unless it's, you know, oh, that's the outside force. All right, folks. Right, Dio Nerd. Uh, oh, you can hear Kathy talking. Good. That's because this microphone that we finally got to work right, that Dio Nerd actually gave me. Oh, she's back there eating Cheetos. Yeah, I want to have something. I'm hungry now myself. Before I go to Betty Bye. But so yeah, how wild would that be if it changes course? Well,
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was thinking that too.
yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Wouldn't that be great? And we do know that they do change course.
Fast.
Like Soho, not Soho. Was it Soho? Comet Soho? I don't know if I'm not saying that right. Anyway, but they said that it dove into the sun, right? And they thought it was going to be gone. I was watching, the postings on this as it was happening, and then it came out another part from behind the sun, and then it was seen to have changed into like 7 objects that were traveling all in the same direction, and it was also seen that there was some object behind it that was big, and some people were joking that it looked like a Pac-Man kind of thing. And that same kind of object was seen in other contexts of some of the Soho satellite. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the comet. It was, I had the comet name in my head.
Oh, here they come. There they go. There's the first guy. Lots of campfires.
It's all right. Give me a chance to try to think about. I'm getting tired, so my mind's not, picking up on things that ordinarily I can remember. That's part of getting old. So, yeah, changes course. I think, you see, I seem to remember that in the 90s, while I was still in the classroom, I know we got a telescope while I was still in the classroom, and we had night watch, and we were watching the heavens for things, and we were hearing reports. I don't know if it was coming off of the radio station or the Paranet bulletin board service or not, but that there was an object that was beyond the orbit of Pluto, is the way I remember it, and that it was it had strange behavior, and that one of the strange behaviors was that it changed course. And I remember them thinking about it at the time. They have an explanation for that if it does happen. They can say that uh, there's another object that they just can't see that's in that area that caused it to veer off the course. And what's interesting about that is that it might be true. That might be one of the reasons why an object could change course. Because we don't know how the next level does with the courses of meteors or comets or asteroids, and the sun, the planets, everything. We don't know what influence they can have on the corrections of courses and things like that. But they can also do it just to show humans that it's happening so that they can see yet another strange aspect of it that they haven't seen before, which this one has a number of things that are different from even the other two interstellar objects, Borisov and Oumuamua. Um, so, so it is interesting to watch. It's supposed to be as closest point to the sun in October, but I guess you're saying that we're not going to see any of it. I guess what if it was like the Hale Bopp though, the Hale Bopp went behind the sun. Maybe it's going to be on a similar course. It went behind the sun, and then when it came out from the other side of the sun, it the object that was considered to be the companion object wasn't there anymore. And instead, and this might have even happened before it went behind the sun, instead there was another tail. So it had three tails instead of two. Because two was thought to be kind of normal, even though they've had some comets that had no tail. But that's what they said about Oumuamua, or Oumuamua. Uh, uh, I think at one point that it didn't have a tail. So they didn't know whether to call it a comet because they didn't know of any. But now this one they're saying does have a tail, a gas, that goes for millions of miles. So for all I know, oh, did you get a good picture? So for all I know, it's not there's not going to be anything that we know about that with this object. But it could be spreading foo-foo juice on the planet. It could be one of those seven angels bringing pouring out their vial of changes that need to happen in order to complete the civilization's task. Well, the task of the civilization development. We put it that way. So, October 28th, says Dio Nerd. October 28th, huh? That's when it gets the closest to the sun, right? Yeah, let me know if you learn anything new about it. Yeah, we'll keep on watching as well. So, folks, I think I'm about puttered out, as you can tell, probably. I know Joseph always says to me, "You sound tired, so you better get some rest." I think he means it in good. I think he means well by it. So I'm gonna take my own advice on that and call it a night. So good night, folks.